So joining me now, Colby Ryan from his home studio in Arizona. Colby, I was thinking the other day, I know we've met and we briefly talked outside of courthouses, but I don't think we've ever sat down for a formal interview.
Yeah, no, we haven't actually been able to talk like this one on one.
Right. So how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's just a slow process of every day taking it one day at a time. Kind of cliche, but yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Family's doing good, so we're blessed.
Let's back up to a couple weeks ago when your mom was on Dateline. Were you
Mhm.
surprised at all with that interview, with how it turned out, with, the whole episode?
So the episode to me, I didn't expect it to go backwards, and I understand why they did that. I guess for me, the format, I thought they were just going to sit down one on one with her and just chop it up. I can see probably why they didn't want to air her just talking nonstop. But it was interesting to see her interact with someone else that wasn't me, having someone interview her. And I think Keith did a really good job because it's really difficult to get her to answer a question. So overall, I think it was a good episode. I think I just had different expectations.
I think though the fact that you called your mom and aired that conversation or posted it for all of us to hear, that I
Right.
think maybe set the expectation of what she's like in preparation for this interview.
Right.
So take me back to when you decided to call her a few months ago. And those of you watching, if you haven't seen the call, go to Colby's YouTube channel and watch it because first of all, I don't know how you kept your composure. Had you planned and told your mom, I'm going to call you, I'm going to record it, I'm going to release it? How did that whole thing come about?
Right. So initially, my thought process was I haven't talked to her in years, right? Since 2020. And I'm thinking to myself, and maybe this sounds dark, but it's like if I never talk to her again, can I hold my head on that? Can I rest my head on that? Whatever the saying is. Um, and it just kept eating at me. I'm like, maybe I'll do one more. It's been a long time since we've had a conversation. But instead of me walking in as here, I'm a son and you're my mom, I'm going to conduct it like an interview where I come in with questions and I'm just expecting answers. So I'll be respectful, and I'll come in that way. So that was the first initial thought process. Then after that, I messaged her and asked her if she was okay with being interviewed and telling her everything. You're going to be either we'll be on video back and forth or our audio or whatever the case was. So she knew this was her first interview she'd ever do publicly. So she knew I confirmed it over and over because I don't know what her state of mind really is. I was saying, you understand what I mean. Like I'm going to, if, even if I never release this, this is intended to possibly be released. And so that was the back and forth. And eventually we finally did it. And I think the interview style, the back and forth questions were more for my protection because I'm not going to come in there as a vulnerable son and let her do what we had in our first couple phone calls, where she just goes, you don't know anything. And that whole thing all over again. So that was really the reason why it was an interview. And then I really sat on it and prayed about it if I'd release it to the public because it's a big deal to have that information come out and have her personally say everything she said about Tylee. So it was definitely a decision I sat with before I released it.
Had she told you that before, the insinuating that Tylee was somehow involved in JJ's death and then committed her own suicide?
No, that was the information I had heard a version of that she said that happened, and I said I don't need anything other than direct contact with this woman. We're gonna have a direct conversation, and you tell me personally, one on one, what happened. And I wanted to go meet with her. I actually called her lawyer out of the blue at the time and asked, could I come see her and just say goodbye to her? Can I come and do this interview? And then the wrap up is I'm gonna basically say goodbye to my mom for the rest of my life, possibly. And that didn't end up happening. So we had to work with the phone call. And obviously I didn't expect anything really of what she said, to be honest with you, and the way she said it.
Right. And of course there was technical difficulties because of the jail phone call system, so
Right.
it's cut out, but you were obviously visibly upset by the end of the call.
Yeah.
Is that just because everything hit you, or what was your frame of mind at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, to hear her actually tell me that Tylee is the reason for basically everything, almost blaming Tylee for this whole situation, and have her actually personally say that to me, just changed everything between me and my mom. And I think after a while, I was like, I never want to talk to you anyway. But then after that, I think it just changed something in me forever because I knew that wasn't true. There's not a slight bit of evidence that that has ever happened, and that happened. But for her to think that I'm so, let me put it this way: she knew she was trying to pull at my heartstrings, and she knew she was manipulating me. And I think that when I saw someone go to that level and that depth of lying to protect themselves, it just broke me because I know Tylee's not here to defend herself. So for her to be able to make up that story and then pitch it to everyone around her and then say it to the world, um, it really broke my heart to for my sister, and also broke my heart even as a mother to a daughter, because I have my kids and I can't imagine hating my child so much that I would pin everything I did wrong on them after I did what I did, you know?
Yeah.
So
Has
I
she
think that
tried
was the emotion.
has she tried to reach out to you since that call?
So I didn't directly contact her. So I don't know. I know she said in the interview that she wanted to talk to me directly and that she wanted to tell me all those things directly. So I'm not sure where she stands with that. But no, we have not had any type of conversation after that or any type of communication since that interview.
Mm. I remember you walking in to testify in her trial in Boise and her saying, "My baby."
Yeah.
And I also remember watching you on the stand. I think that they took a bit of a break while you were up there. There was not a lot happening at one point. I don't remember why, but you were not looking at her.
No.
But at one point, I think you did look at her and kind of had a like shook your head in disgust and then looked straight ahead.
Yeah.
What was that like to testify at your mom's murder trial?
It's something I can't really explain. Um, I hadn't seen her in person in a long time. And it's almost like this character has been built up in your head this whole time, and then you finally see her. And I remember when I walked in there, I kept telling myself that I'm here for my siblings, but I'm against my mom, right? It's a really weird feeling. And when I remember we had this long break for some reason. I don't remember what happened, and there was just a good 5 minutes where they're like, "Okay, you can stand up and stretch." And I just feel like I'm sitting here, and I just feel her eyes just glaring at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the time that I turned my head, she looked at me and just like mouthed that I love you. And I just wanted to curse her out. I'm sorry. Like that's just my immediate reaction because it's like I don't believe you. You know what I mean? I don't even know who you are. And so that was a really really hard thing to do because yeah, I can't put into words what it's like to be trying to have justice for your siblings against your own mom. It's a really weird feeling.
And while you were on the stand, didn't you have to testify? Didn't they play the phone call you had with her in jail at that time?
Yeah, that was tough. I didn't know that they were going to do that, and to sit there and listen to me and her in a private conversation, not that I didn't know it's being recorded, but at the time it's just between me and her. And the more I listened to it, the more I realized what she was doing and how she was somehow always able to weasel out of any kind of um, acceptance of what she's done. And in that phone call, I realized what she'd been doing for years, but I was so blinded, like you make up a story in your mind of who your mom was. And I think I was holding on for so long until finally that image I created of her broke in those moments. And I think it got to me to where I am today. It's just realization, you know.
Is that would you say kind of the turning point for you, that call that you had with her in the jail, like, okay, mom is not mom, or had it come earlier than that?
So the first phone call, it couldn't have been too long after. It's the one we listened to. I remember, I think I held on hope for a while after that. This interview that I did with her in 2024, that just, it changed everything. Like I can't explain. There was life before that interview and life after. And it's because I didn't come in there press her. I didn't come in there telling her what I know for facts. I know I spit back at her a little bit, but I gave her an open platform, said, you tell me what happened. I'm all ears. I'm not going to sit here and judge you, and I'm not going to do any of that. And so after our conversation, I had to wrestle. It was so weird. Like, I wish I could put it into context, but the inner kid in me was just crying out for my mom. Like, I wanted somehow to believe she wasn't bad. And not that I ever wanted her story to be true, but it's like just wishing she wasn't the way she was. So like I mourned her again after that interview. And I think that was part of something I never expected, is like, wow, she's gone and she's alive, but she's not. And it's like, it's a mind game. And so after that interview, it changed everything. And I think that that's why I also planned before it to say goodbye to her at the end. It didn't really work out that way because of that phone call, the way it is, and the drops and the noises and people screaming in the background, and it literally cutting out all those different factors. I just had to work with what I had. And so I gave her somewhat of a version of, hey, I honor you as a parent. Thank you for raising me and what you did for me personally as I grew up. But we can't ever be mother and son again. That relationship is gone forever, and I don't care if we're blood or not. It's over forever.
I think that's very wise of you to come to that realization, to kind of shut the door. This isn't the mom I knew. That's a separate person. And also to let her talk when you call her, because, you know, a lot of people might say you just want to yell at her or demand answers. But obviously for a personality like her, from what we've seen, she might hang up the phone. She's going to shut down. She's not going to say much. So the fact that you went in just saying, let her talk, just try to hear it out, I think was quite smart.
Yeah. And I think you, like you just said, you have a big taste of it with Keith. Anybody who sits in front of her, you say one thing and it's, well, you think I'm the worst person that ever lived, and just this tangent. And you're like, well, I never said that. Right. Like, that's so left field. I grew up with a version of that, but this is next level, like beyond anything I ever experienced fully. So yeah, I tried to give her almost an unbiased position to say, just tell me what happened. And you know, I heard other people saying, well, maybe you called to kind of like get answers. And it's like, I think more than anything, I just wanted her to, on her own decision, to tell me what happened. And at this point, if she would have at least told me what happened and told me the truth, at least I could say, okay, I've heard the truth and it's over. But for her to lie the way that she did and then circle around and it's me and her versus the world, and I'm the reason she's alive, to put all that kind of stuff on me still, and say it was harder to lose me than it was the kids. Those type of things just echo in your ears forever. Right. So you have to close the door on that.
So, can we go back to 2019? I remember when this story first hit the news, and you posted a few pleas on YouTube, you know, asking for help to find your siblings. And it sounds like you didn't really know what was going on. When did you first know JJ and Tylee aren't safe and mom's gone?
Yeah. So when the police came to my door and asked where Tylee and JJ were, and then I called her not even 5 minutes after that. And
you called Tylee?
No, I called my mom.
You called Lori. Okay.
Yeah, I called her and I said, so please come to the door, and they go, is Tylee or JJ here with you? And I literally went, are you talking about my sister? Like I'm freaking out. I'm like, what are you talking? Where do you mean? Where am I? Where's Tylee? And so there's this whole back and forth of that fear. And I call her right after, and I'm like, 2 police just came to my door looking for Tylee. What's going on? And mind you, I had already texted Tylee and said, I'm really concerned you won't pick up my phone calls. And there's just this feeling, but in my mind, there's absolutely no way that Tylee and JJ are not alive. That's not a question to me. Like my mom's never ever been someone you would think of as a dangerous human being. So I call her the next day. I think it's Thanksgiving, literally the next day. I call her back, phone's dead, gone. And I go, what planet am I on right now? What is going on? And mind you, all this is the end of 2019. 2019 was the hardest years ever, and going into 2020. So it was already really hard up to that point. And yeah, she was gone, and then she goes missing. Guess time next time I saw her was with you. The
Mm.
first time I saw her and heard all these rumors, I saw one video of her in the airport, and then the next thing I saw was you going up to her and asking her those questions in Hawaii. And I remember that's when I saw the car, I was sitting with Kelsey and I said, they didn't find anything of Tylee and JJ's. I'm getting goosebumps saying it. Because I'm like, there's just like, okay, so where in the world are they? And that's when it really, really fully like hit me because I know her and I know her pattern. So for her to be in Hawaii at Kauai Beach Resort with this dude and the kids are nowhere, my first thought is they must have put them somewhere else. Maybe they married Tylee off. Like I'm literally running through scenarios. There's no way though that they're not okay. And I'm thinking to myself, they're somewhere on the planet and I have no idea where. And I just had to sit there with all of that information and nothing I could do about it.
Before that, was your mom always easy to reach? I mean, did she always take your calls?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we talked pretty frequently. I think our relationship started to stagger after I got married. And I think more than anything is because she was having issues with the fact that I wasn't her baby anymore and that I had a wife and she didn't like that. So she's butting heads a little bit with Kelsey. And past that point, I mean, after everything that happened with Charles, my whole foot steps out of almost everywhere. Like, I don't know what to do with myself because something's not right about this. And so it was a really, really hard position to be in because it's heartbreaking and I have no idea what's going on and everything's changing so fast. And she would always answer the phone. And then now her phone's dead and there's no way to know what she's doing, where she's at, or where my siblings are at.
Uh, how did you learn that Charles had been shot by Alex?
So I'm at work. It's like the middle of my day. And I think I called her that morning. She never answered. And she calls me and says, "Hey, bub." And I'm like, thinking it's a normal conversation. And she just kind of lightly says, "Well, I just want you to know that Charles came to the house this morning to pick up JJ because at this point, he's not living with them. They just moved back to Arizona and he's in Houston. And my mom had just basically brought JJ back. And that's a whole nother story. But she goes, "Yeah, we were in the kitchen and he had a heart attack and he passed away." And just simple as that. No feelings, no anything. And I remember that moment. I remember like everything in my body just dropped to the floor. And couldn't function anymore during the day, right? Like I'm at work, I can't even think straight. And so towards the end of the day, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to come by." And I'd never been to their house. That is how fast this all was. Like they had just moved back. I'd never been to this house. And yeah, I just said, "I have to come by and see you guys. I have to check up on you and talk to you. Like, what is going on?" And yeah, that happened like maybe 4 or 5 hours later. I left work and went straight to their house.
And what was your mom's demeanor like at the house?
She, I'm in the backyard and she's just sitting there and she finally says, "Well," and this is rough because this is definitely, I don't remember everything that she said, but she was like, basically, Alex and Charles got in a fight and Tylee brought a bat out and they got into it and Alex had to shoot him or shot him in self-defense. She said self-defense. I remember that. And I'm cursing at her. And I'm saying, "What are you talking?" Like the shock of someone passing away versus being killed are not even the same realm. So now I'm hearing, "Oh, well, Alex actually killed Charles." And so I'm sitting there and I just want to leave, but I'm also scared. And she seems so calm and there's almost no reaction from her and there's no reaction from Alex, and Tylee's just sitting there like out of it, but also like trying to be brave. That's kind of who she was. She always had to like try to like go for the joke when she's about to cry kind of person.
Right.
And I just remember feeling like I was the only one in the house that was like shocked and didn't know what to do with myself.
Was Alex there too?
Yeah, he was there.
And acting normal, just like a normal day?
He was watching a movie with his bandage around his head, and he was the first one that said anything to me.
About the
I
shooting?
literally, yeah. So I pointed at his head. I pointed at my head and went, "What's this?" Like, because he had a white bandage wrapped around, and he goes something like, "Charles hit me in the head with a bat, and I shot him in self-defense." And I went, like, that's how I received the information first. So I go outside to my mom to have that conversation. She basically gives me a little bit of a different version or like more detail of it, and neither one of them rattled at all. And so, yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with Charles? Were you guys close?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. And the reason I haven't really spoken too much on it is because Charles and I were as close as we possibly could be, if that makes any sense. I was in and out of the house a lot. I always will look at Charles as my father, and he took really good care of me. And we started to get a lot closer in the last probably year, which is what was really wild. We started to get really a lot closer in 2018. That was like when our relationship was probably like, okay, I'm a man now. He's starting to ask me to come meet him and talk with him about man stuff, about what I'm going to do with my life. And I'm actually coming to him for advice. So I think that's when it was different, because kind of growing up, I think that the dynamic in the house was I keep to myself a lot, and I'm moving and changing my mind all the time, trying to figure out what I want to do in my life. And I'm very separated from the house. But then that was when me and Charles started to get close. It's around 2018. And yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where I'm still processing like what it was like in that time. You know what I mean? It's all still new to me because it's so much to go back and have to process everything. But
Right. Yeah. I
no,
and not process that and everything with your siblings and your mom.
right.
During this time at all, did your mom try to talk religion to you, her beliefs at all?
Yeah. So her main pitch ever was, we were on our way to, I had a Reno football tryout, like a camp, and it was a 3-day camp, and it was in like Reno. So she said, I'll come down and take you to it. And this is, mind you, at the beginning of 2019. So she flew back. And at this point, she had just said that she was in Hawaii because she disappeared. So Charles takes JJ, and she is MIA with Tylee. And then finally Tylee comes back and like, oh yeah, we were in Hawaii. So, and mind you, the reason why I'm just kind of hands off is because I have my family just had a baby a couple weeks before that in February. They're going through drama, and I just didn't want to get involved, honestly. So she comes back and she's like, okay, I'll take you. So, it's a good, I think 11 hours, 10, 11 hours from here, from like Chandler to Reno. And while we're on our way, she brought up multiple lives. And I remember telling her, I said, that's reincarnation. That doesn't happen. Like, it was an immediate shutdown. And I think her thing was, with each person, she felt people out and try to see what they would accept or listen to and where she could go with it. And I just told her I don't believe in that immediately. And I said, I don't believe in reincarnation. I don't believe that you've been here multiple times. And she said a couple other little things. She was on the phone a lot. And I remember hearing the name Zulema. I had no idea who that is, right? Like, I'm not paying attention to everything she's doing. And she did her podcast on the way there. Those are the three things. And I have my headphones in. I'm sitting there on my phone. I'm texting, like, you know what I mean? But that trip also scared me a lot, because I woke up from falling asleep in the passenger seat, and it's kind of not, okay, this isn't funny, but it's really odd. So it's funny to me. I woke up and it scared me in the moment. And she's literally looking up at the sky, and she's like waving her hands over and over, looking up at the sky. And I remember I'm just like cracking my eyes looking over, like, where are we? And I'm thinking to myself, what is she doing?
Hmm.
Right. So that was before she brought up the conversation about the reincarnation thing. And then after that, yeah, I mean, we got there. I went to my camp for the next 3 days, and then we drove back. And outside of that, I don't remember much else that she said about religious stuff, but she was on the phone and she did her podcast. Those were like the two things that I remember.
Never mentioned Chad Daybell.
No, I feel like I would. I say this with all honesty. I feel like I would have remembered if I had ever heard his name. I would have said, "Oh yeah, she mentioned that in 2018, something like that." I had no idea this man existed
Until you
until
saw the Hawaii video.
yeah,
Mm.
or it was when that release came out.
Oh,
So it
right.
was
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That in December we went to go see the new Star Wars movie, and right before I get a call that Alex is dead. And I'm thinking to myself while I'm at the movie, holy crap, like, what is going on? Like, he just killed my dad. Now he's dead. And so we go to the movie. I'm sitting there all like, we never stay up late at this point. We just had Riley. We get back, and then Kelsey comes out of the room. It's like 12:30, and I'm on the couch, and she's like, her phone, she's like holding her phone shaking. And it's the report. And it says, your mom's married, and they abandoned their house in Rexburg, Idaho. And there's no sign of the kids. And it was like, that's when it all started right there that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I imagine, yeah, your wife was probably freaked out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going, she's married. Like, I can't even tell you the shock of all of that in that one day, just
Yeah.
alone. And then, it's like, so they can't find the kids, and she's married, and they ran away, and they were in Idaho. Like, all of this information, all just a dump right there.
Yeah. So then did you try to reach out to your mom?
I did. I emailed her, and I got an email back. I don't know when it was. It was maybe a week or something later, and it said, we're all fine and everything's going to be okay, and I'm going to take care of it, and Jesus has got us. And I'm assuming she means her and the kids,
Yeah.
right? And mind you, I'm not thinking something is wrong with the kids, because that's just not possible in my brain. It's just not. It just doesn't seem plausible. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this is her to deal with. Those are my siblings, but those are her kids, and she needs to do what she needs to do. She needs to take care of this, and she needs to bring it back.
Did you
When she
think?
went silent, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, when she went silent, that's when it was scary.
Did you think all along that your siblings were still alive, or was there a day or a moment where you thought, okay, this isn't looking good?
Yeah. It was the wrestle all the time. I remember that Christmas, I woke up and I just asked Kelsey out of the blue. I just said, what if they're gone? And I had a dream, and it's really hard to, it's just a hard dream to tell you, but I just had this really weird dream, and I just remember the flash of it, and it was this big, kind of like if you looked at soil behind glass, like layers. And I had a dream that specifically Tylee was in this soil in this big field. And this was like scared me to death, because I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm telling myself that dream means nothing. You're crazy. Like, I'm not letting that be even a thought process in my head. There's no way Tylee's there. And that was, I think, a couple months later, they were looking in his backyard. I remember praying and telling myself, please, Tylee, don't be back there, because of that dream. So like, it was very close to the back of my brain, because I had to push it back. I had to keep hope. And I kept telling myself, rationalizing all day, every day, there's no way she would hurt them. So where are they? Mm-hmm. And I went through every scenario I could possibly think of, every family member that they could possibly be with, and wondering what's going on. So until the day that they called me and told me they found them, I think I always had some kind of hope.
Is that how you learned that on June 9th, 2020, that they had been found? You got a call from the police?
Yeah. So I was on my way to go get my license renewed, and I was by myself. And I remember I got a call from the FBI, and they go, "Hey, Colby, Chad's been arrested, and they found human remains on his property." And man, it was just like, and I remember like same thing, rationalizing like, okay, maybe it's like, and I asked her, I said, is it like little kids' bones? Like, can you tell me anything? Is it like somehow, some way it's not them? Right? There's no way. And that's just how my brain was. It was just deflecting that possibility that that's true. And she said, we're still looking into it. We're going to have to figure it out. And then, yeah, I mean, we hung up and I called Kelsey. And then later that day they called and said they confirmed it. Um, and yeah, that's when I found out that day.
Hmm. And at that point, you realize your mom, that's when they filed the serious charges of murder against
Right.
her.
Yeah.
And how was it to process that? That my mom is charged with killing my siblings and her new husband too. I mean, are you still processing it? Have you come to terms like, okay, I get it now, or
Yeah. I think you have to split it into categories in a sense. I fully accept that in what I believe, Alex, Lori, and Chad killed my entire family, except for Lori. And
and you?
yeah, and me. Um, and I think that I just finally fully accepted the reality. Like, yeah, this happened. And there's no way I can ever go around it. There's nothing I can do to pretend like it isn't. I can't deflect the information. I can't pretend like they're not here or somehow have wishful thinking they're still in a bunker somewhere, right? Like I had to accept the reality of it. But to know that my mom was involved like that and could have put her hands on them and did it. And I think the one thing that I think floored me and really changed my life was that picture of JJ and his jammies. Um, because that's like, okay, so you planned everything. It's not like you just said, "Hey, Alex, Chad, go get them." Like you really planned all this out, and then I just accepted that that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to do it, and you can give a million reasons, religion, money, whatever you want to say, but they ultimately made the decision to do it. And so I just accept it for what it is.
So in the midst of, all this happening, you've also got media that want to talk to you.
Yeah.
What did you learn from, dealing with the media, handling the media, talking too much, not talking enough? Like what counsel or advice would you give to people that might find themselves in a high profile case?
Yeah. I mean, mind you, I'm 23,
Right.
22, 23 years old, and I have no idea what's going on. Right. When I posted that video for my mom, I'm not thinking about 100,000 people watching that video. I posted it from one person. I hope it gets one view and it's her. And so after experiencing people online and now I'm interviewing and I'm like, okay. And every time you talk to some of these shows, and it's not everybody, but a lot of these people are like, hey, we're going to get you on. We're going to talk about your family and we're going to get you here to advocate for your siblings. And we're going to try to make the search wider. And that's why we want you to come. And they're like, oh, yeah, exactly. That's what I want. Let's do that. And you get there and they go, who was your biological father? Well, let's talk about your whole entire family. Let's talk about someone who passed away before you were born or something of that nature. And I'm like, you got me. I don't know what you want from me. Like I'm not here for those reasons, but I was very um just non-confrontational to the point where I'd answer any question. And I just felt like I didn't know what to do because you're just put on the spot. And it was really, really hard. And then um, I thought that okay, I'm gonna take back the narrative the best I can for my family's sake, and we'll do the documentary, and that will be really justice to know the reality of what it was like in my family and this and that. And then when that went sideways, I was like, okay, this is a dirty place. Like this media stuff is crazy, and it's a I don't know, it's just a war zone in a sense. And if you're not an understanding of that, you get put in a really bad position. So I think the number one thing is you have to put your head on as straight as possible, and you have to process what you're feeling and going through. And I think we're in a stage now in life where you can have your own voice in your own way. And I think that's important, because if you have something to say, you either find someone you really trust to help you say that thing, or you can do it on your own terms. And so that would be my biggest advice is either get a good relationship with someone before you put yourself out there in that way. And then on top of it, you have your own voice. So if you have a platform, use your platform.
Yeah, I think that you were smart. Even back in 2020 into 2019, when you released that YouTube video, you were able to say it in your own words, hope that your mom saw it, and then say, not get edited, not get cut up or whatever.
Right.
Do you plan to go to the trial in Arizona?
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot. I think maybe for sentencing, possibly. I just, it's really complex, right? Because yeah, I want to stand there for my dad's sake, but at the same time, I have to stand in the room with my mom, and I have to see her, and I have to listen to her talk. And I'll be honest with you, even though I talk about her on my channel, I don't want to listen to her talk and just ramble on and say the things that she says. So I think there's been a lot of thought process of when I'll go, and maybe again, maybe that's the last time I ever see her. So that's kind of all the thoughts that I have going into it. I've said to myself probably one time, probably once.
You'll go one day.
And probably one day, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depending on when that is.
But you don't think you're going to be a witness or anything?
I haven't heard anything. Some people are like, what's going on? I'm like, I have no idea. I've never been so out of the loop. And that's fine with me, because if they need me, they know that I'll be there for them. Not my mom, not Lori. They know that I will be there if they need me. But again, is it nice to also not have to go and do that all over again? Yeah, there's a relief to that. But they know if they need me, like I said to everybody in Rexburg before, I'm here. I'll do that. But it's not like I want to.
Right. What do you remember most about JJ and Tylee?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the thing I miss about them the most is just what they bring, their personalities, and just interacting with them, being able to even walk in the room and hear Tylee talk about her day, and being able to, like, I always think to myself, I would do anything for them to just be able to sit in this room and get to see their nieces and nephew and just be here and just have a life and do Christmas and watch Tylee grow up and get married. And what I miss about Tylee is her heart. And me and Tylee, again, I don't know how God orchestrated all of that, but we had started to get a lot closer in like the end of 2017 going into 2018. And it was just crazy because like our age gap was so vast of like where we are in life. And then all of a sudden we're starting to talk about life, and she's getting her, getting close to getting her driver's license. And we're doing like a therapy kind of thing where I'm talking to her about her life and she's opening up. And so like we're getting closer, and then that's just gone. And JJ was like, I don't want to ever use him like, oh, he was like my son, but he was like he was like my little brother. I think he was my little brother, but it was like, I never had a little brother like that as an adult, like a 17-year-old, 18-year-old. And so my love for him was very like protective. And, I always saw myself playing sports with him and teaching him all these different things like a big brother, and having him be a part of everything that we did. And so I just have to live with the reality that that's not going to happen here,
Right. So you tell your kids about them.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you want the world to know about maybe anything that's been misrepresented, or any rumor, or anything that's, out there that you just really bugs you, or is there something that you want to clear up? Is there anything?
There's a lot. I mean, I could sit here and do the list. I think my only thing and my biggest message as of late was, and obviously I could pick apart a billion things, Nate. Like seriously, I have so many things, but the number one thing I've really tried to change in this whole experience, in this case and everything, is really understanding from a human perspective what it's like to go through this for people who are left, and then trying to actually remember the people who are gone, not just as the sidestep of like, okay, that's crazy, but Lori's my main focus. I think I've tried to re-put the focus on, hey, Tylee was incredible. JJ was incredible. Charles was incredible. And I'm sure Tammy was incredible. These are people who are gone now, who kind of almost, to me, a lot of times get overlooked for the sensationalism of Lori and Chad. So I think that's been the biggest thing, is just trying to create something that actually represents them and puts them in a place of legacy, rather than them just being the footnote of always having to be intertwined with Lori.
Right.
You know.
Have you gone to like a therapist, Colby?
Yeah.
Oh.
I have a really good therapist. She's completely God sent. Like, she helps me so much. And that's how, I think that's the main reason I started doing the channel the way that I have, is, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of opinions. And I said, look, this is my reality of my life, and I'm unpacking. And I really hope someone who has experienced maybe the smallest thing of what I've experienced can hear and relate and realize that they're not alone. And then we realize that even though you can be traumatized and have a really hard life, you can keep building towards something better. And so she's really the main reason why I've been able to come out of that place, because it was just this huge suitcase of stuff that was just ready to burst. And I felt like I couldn't do anything about it. And she like made it safe and made it easy to start saying, okay, let's do this one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. And it's just like made it possible. You know, it's made it possible to actually accept the situation now and start moving forward, and not let it ruin my life every time my mom's name is brought up, or Tylee and JJ. Like, if you would ask me that question even maybe a year ago, I couldn't have even talked to you about it, because I would have started crying. You know, so those are my results, I guess, if you want to call it that things are getting better. And it's been really great to have a therapist.
I can tell you, watching Dateline, I'm talking with Keith and Shane, the producer. You feel like you're in a much better place, just seeing you, and more confident and just more introspective, I guess. It's just really admirable how far you've come, you know, from the past 5 years.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's just one of those situations you could never prepare yourself for. And the fact that it's the reality, you just have to take the lessons that you possibly can and do everything you can to apply what you've learned to help other people. That's how I look at it. And that's really the main goal now, is how do we move forward after something like this goes off? What do you do? And I think I'm just kind of showing people where I'm at with it, hoping that they can also realize there's nothing special about me. I just had a lot of help, and I'm figuring out that there's still a life now to live, because I didn't feel that way for a really long time.
You mentioned a couple times, and we can see it on your hat, the Scar Wars podcast. It's on YouTube. How'd you come up with the name? I mean, you did mention that you were at Star Wars earlier. I'm assuming you're a fan.
Oh, I'm a big fan. It was funny. I was really playing around with this idea of kintsugi, which is basically when you put something back together. And it's basically with those gold lines. And I just got so fascinated with the idea, because it felt like that for me. My life felt like I shattered like glass, but I can't just do nothing. I have to get back together. So it's piece by piece. And one day you're walking around and you have all of these scars from your life, but they're like stories, and they don't make you who you are. They're just a part of you. And then I felt like I'm battling. So how do I mix the scar idea with fighting it like a war strategically? It can't all be done in one day. You can't win a war in one day. And it's just like one of those things where it just kind of all kind of came together. Plus, obviously, loving Star Wars, and just that name alone was cool. But yeah, it's just really those two concepts pushed together to kind of come up with that. And then the reason I do a podcast is to kind of have more real conversations, rather than maybe the way things are perceived or presented in other ways. You can hear from someone's mouth what they think and feel, and then you get to make a decision, rather it being edited down to a certain type of way because of narrative driving. So that was the other reason.
So you can find the Star Wars podcast, as I mentioned, on YouTube. And I understand you have a very special guest coming up, Colby.
A very special guest.
Very special. Yes.
No, top tier.
Bottom of the barrel here.
No, top tier.
For those watching, it's going to be me, and we're gonna end our conversation now here on East Idaho News. But jump over to Colby's channel. Colby, do you know when you're going to be posting our conversation?
Yeah, so we're gonna post it. Let me look at the actual date, but it's gonna be next Friday.
Okay.
So whatever next Friday's date is, what is it? The 27th. So what the 27th? I think
okay.
That's it.
Oh, that's next Thursday. So you're watching,
okay.
If you're watching this on East Idaho News on the March 27th or after the fact, my conversation with Colby, him interviewing me, the tables are turning here.
Right.
Watch it on Colby's channel on the 28th of March.
The 28th.
Okay. And what time can people go over and watch it?
We're going to pop that on at 7:30 Mountain Standard.
All right.
And I'll post about it on the channel so that way people know, because like you said, we got a big guest coming on. I gotta post it. I gotta let people know.
I've never been so nervous. I mean, I normally I'm pretty comfortable asking the questions, but you know, to have the tables turned. But I appreciate you talking with me, Colby, and I look forward to talking with you. Is there anything you want to add here before we sign off on this one?
No, honestly, I appreciate you, first of all, coming onto the show. And then secondly, you know, I'm glad we did a sit down, because I know it's been a long time and it's something that I've thought about doing before, but I appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Head over to Colby's channel, the 20th of March, the Scar Wars podcast, and we'll see you there.
All right.